Hello YouTube, Willful Ninja here, bringing you yet another D&D video. I know last time I talked about D&D, I said I was going to do a video discussion about dwarves, because they're the first race in the player handbook. Now, instead, as a special request for a friend of mine, who will remain unnamed, I will actually be doing a video focusing on what some people consider enemies of dwarves, or people that they don't get along with. And I am of course speaking of not orcs, not goblins, but elves. Sorry, I'm just grabbing my charger. So first thing, now I do not have the player handbook with me, so I'll be discussing more about my opinion of them and the knowledge that I have in memory. Now, when playing Dungeons and Dragons, one thing to note is some races you have to pick a sub-race. Elves is such a one. The term elves refers to several sub-races. Not all of them have their own unique traits and abilities, but they all live to be about 750 years old. But the lore section of the player handbook, in terms of referring to them, says they can live well over 700 years. So in my world, I generally have elves not reproducing much, but they do live to be over 1,000. Like, the oldest elf I ever made was that of 1,800 years old. Now again, that's my world. As I said in the previous video, in terms of D&D in general, DMs can alter things from table to table. It'll be very rare that you find one DM who has something completely the same as the others. So now let's get on to their stats. Now, it also describes that elves are generally the size of a human, but not as heavy. Because of this, they get a +2 to dexterity, regardless of sub-race you have. They have proficiency with perception, and their movement speed is 30. Now, they also have a thing called... Oops, sorry, Shelby. Sorry, I'm not accidentally bumping my dad's cat's nose. They do also have something that's called dark vision. Now, what that means is that when in the dark, they treat complete darkness as dim light, as in you can barely make out images, but you see in black and white. They treat dim light as bright as this room, and then they treat complete darkness as if there's sunlight, again in black and white. Now, this only goes up to about 60 feet, so they still have to be relatively close to things in order to perceive them. But it does mean that they don't have as much to worry about when in the complete dark. Now, they also have automatic perception, the perception skill check. They automatically have proficiency in it, no matter what class you're playing, no matter what background you have, they will have it. Now, the sub-races are as follows, and now these add a few extra abilities. There's the Wood Elf. Now, the Wood Elves, they tend to be very isolationists. They wander from place to place in tribes. They rarely leave their forests. Also, due to the elves' long life, they generally view things a little differently, as opposed to some of the shorter-lived races, such as dwarves, humans, and halflings. Now, there's special relationships between these races. Elves, for example, view dwarves as clumsy and a little oafish, but they don't disrespect them. They consider them highly skilled warriors, and they also find them on equal, almost as equal level in terms of art and crafting as they themselves are. They view halflings in pretty much a completely positive light because halflings do not cause trouble with any races. They're not overly aggressive. They're generally nice people. So that's their view of halflings. And then their view on humans is they admire humans for their drive to accomplish things that they, in their such a short lifespan of 120 years. That's the maximum age for a human. But yeah, the only thing they do criticize humans about is refinement. Which I think will generally mean they view humans as a bit brash and a little over eager. I believe. I'm not quite sure. Don't quote me on that. What else is there? But yeah, wood elves are the isolationists, and like all elves, they age the same way as humans, except an elf will only achieve adulthood around after its 100th birthday, and then they will name themselves, similar to a tiefling, except an elf's name seems to not have any general meaning, as compared to tieflings, which I will get into later on in their own separate video. So yeah, after that's when they're considered considered adult. And then they only become adventurers out of wanderlust, or as a wanderlust. Basically, they just want to explore and all that. Elves are very big on their freedom. Their natural enemies seem to be orcs and goblins, which is why in some cases dwarves view elves as great allies when it comes to dealing with orcs. So yeah. It's not like in Lord of the Rings where dwarves and elves are at each other's throats. They have a general positive relationship. Now, wood elves get a bonus to their wisdom. Again, as I said, I'm committing this to memory. It's just that I wanted to put up a video for my friend. So I'll probably do a redo. A redo of this, where I can actually view the PDF as I'm talking. They get an extra bit of speed, 5 feet, not much I know, but it can come in handy. The extra 5 feet can make the difference between a melee attack. What else? Wood elves are also proficient. Now, a lot of the elves are automatically proficient with certain weapons. I think the high elves and wood elves have very similar. Wood elves are also known as forest elves. Now, wood elves generally don't trust anyone who isn't an elf. So, yeah. Elves' alignments generally geared towards good and chaotic. So, yeah. Now, you don't have to play this. You do not have to play a chaotic or even a good elf. It's just that's what NPC elves will generally gear towards. For example, if I was a DM and I threw an elf at my players, and they knew about generally elves like from Play HP, they would assume he's either going to be good or one of the three good alignments: lawful good, true good or neutral good, and chaotic good. Or he'll be chaotic good, chaotic neutral, chaotic evil. Now, next, because what else do have an extra ability? If they're in light foliage or heavy rain or heavy snow or any other natural phenomena, they can take it was either an action or a bonus action to go into a hide stance, as in they can make your stealth check against the opponent's passive perception to disappear. Pretty handy, especially if you're playing a rogue, because that will deal tons amount of damage. Next, let's go into high elves. High elves come in several variants. It's a little weird, but the two main variants are the northern, I think they're northern, the northern sun elves or gold elves, and the southern silver or grey, or in some cases, moon elves. Now, those two sub races get the exact same stats as a high elf. So when you're making it, if you want to make a sun or moon elf, you make a high elf. Now, I think it's they're considered though. Moon and sun generally seem to be treated as higher up than high elves, even just due to that. I think it because of a lot of their gods and goddesses revolve around the sun and moon. High elves get a bonus to intelligence, and they get a free cantrip of their choice. They get a set amount of cantrips. Sorry, they get a set spells when you pick one. When they level up, they also get proficiency in elven weapons, short swords, bows, and some other martial weapons. But yeah, it's pretty handy, like especially if you're playing a wizard, because wizards are proficient in only one finesse weapon, and that is the dagger, very short range. So if you're playing a high elf wizard, you get a lot more options for your attacks. But granted, now if you're a wizard, you should be using your cantrips, or you should be having spell slots left over. But in case of emergency, boom, you have bows that you can shoot at long range, especially longbow. I think that in that case, if you're playing a high elf wizard, taking the longbow is your best option, because you're going to be far out. Or maybe carry also short swords, so that way if they get into melee, they have something. So, but let's see what else. Also, all elves have something called a trance. They don't need a full 8 hours sleep to get long rest. They only need 4 hours. Pretty handy. Now, as Sage of Ice has said, the 4 hours does not count towards the long rest in terms of getting back your spell slots. It just means your character will only have to spend 4 hours asleep, which means having an elf in the party is pretty handy, because they could take watch much longer than any other class. Especially if you have an elven ranger, they can keep watch very easily. Next we get to the drow. They're very interesting. The drow were exiled for worshipping a spider goddess, Lolith, I think it's pronounced the name, or Ilalt. Or again, I'm not sure about the pronunciation. Please do not badger me about it, please. The drow get something called superior dark vision. They can see much further in the dark than other elves. They also get proficiency in hand crossbows, light crossbows, as well as a short sword and a rapier. All dex weapons, I think they get a further increase in their dexterity. Now, they get a different language than, I think they get Elvish and a language called Underdark Common. Now, Underdark is the language spoken in the Underdark. See, that's what the drow are. They live in a place called the Underdark, which is a huge... It seems to be covered the entirety of faerun, or maybe more. We're not quite sure. We've only seen small maps relating to the Underdark in terms of adventures. So it's not completely the Underdark that we get access to. But generally, the Underdark is a big network of caverns and caves. And these dark elves or drow live there. Now, they tend to look down on every other race, including other elves. They look down on other elves. Now, they see other races only good for slaves. So therefore, they tend to do raids going up to the surface. the steel people and bring them back down to the surface. Sorry, bring them back down to the Underdark to act as slaves, which is the general plot for Out of the Abyss. Great story. I recommend, if you don't have it, you buy it and you have fun playing it. But anyway, but yeah, Drow are raised to believe that they're superior. So which is why even if a Drow doesn't believe in what the Drow say, as in like, no, I want to go up to the surface and be good. I want to help people. You know, like if we're so much better than them, why don't we not help them? So yeah, there's one famous Drow in particular that wizards love to write stories about. He's a Drow, Ranger, Rogue, Fighter. Yeah, I know, 3 classes. I can't remember the name for the life of me because again I don't have my player handbook in front of me. But yeah, he's very famous. He's actually very good. He's a known champion of justice. So some Drow follow in his footsteps, but they can't shake their upbringing. So sometimes they come off very condescending towards others. Now, that's not, again, think sort of Sheldon. Like, they're acting condescending because they don't know any better. They were raised from, like, again, they reach adulthood at 100 years old. And so for 100 years, they're told they're better, smarter than all the other races. So therefore, they will believe it. So there's that to consider. Now, these videos are not as long as my Let's Play. They're not going to be as long as my Let's Plays. But when I talk about the races, I want to also talk about possible classes that could pair well with them. Alright? Now, for the Wood Elf, I would recommend a Rogue, Ranger, and that's about it, personally. Just because, again, the Wood Elf has lots of perception. He has decent speed. He has decent weapons. Now, granted, he gets these from being a Ranger or a Rogue anyway. But also, just due to the fact of the team, I know I got into a debate with my friend over this when we were talking about Lord of the Rings, which we both consider is the perfect Dungeons and Dragons movie. I know it's not Dungeons and Dragons, but it's the closest there. For example, you have Aragorn, the Ranger, Boromir, the Fighter. I like to think Sam as a cleric, just because of how good he is. But yeah, Gimli is a barbarian. But one thing we argue about is he views Legolas as a ranger and I view him as a rogue. Either way, he's very dexterous. He's great with a bow. He's great with stealth. I just personally believe him to be more rogue-like than ranger-like. But yeah. So now the ranger has a few archetypes. Now again, I'm not going to go too into it because again, as I said, I have a video. I plan to do a video on each class. But I view him going great with either rogue or ranger, just due to the natural dexterity. He has great perception. Now again, all elves do, but it also just fits the theme of someone that is used to being in the forest, being out in the wild, wandering around. Now, the rogue doesn't fit this all too well, but rogues are very much your stealthy types with using a bow or daggers or short swords. And what Legolas used was known as long knives. They're not short swords, they were long knives. I don't understand the difference, but apparently that's what they were called. Now, they're called that in the books, not in the movies. In the movies, his weapons weren't really given a name. They were actually the weapons that he used at the end of the movie from when he fought the Uruk-hai in Fellowship of the Ring. That's when he got the long knives. And they were given to him by the Queen. Everyone remember she had that whole scene with the pool of water and she's like, I've been tested, with Frodo's ring. It was just before Frodo left. But anyway, so yeah, interesting topic. In the comment section below, let's put it to a discussion. Now, I do want to clarify, there are no wrong answers. They're just topics of opinion. Like, my friend's not wrong. Maybe Legolas is a ranger. Maybe I just feel like he's a rogue. Now, that does not mean he is wrong. He is entitled to his opinion. I just don't agree with it. Now, me and him can go back and forth constantly, So please, anyone who's discussing Dungeons and Dragons or things in general in the comments, please be respectful to one another. Because if you're not being respectful, I will remove the comment. I don't want toxic comments polluting the comment section. Now, I'm okay with criticism. I'm completely fine with being criticized. Just don't be rude to one another. Okay? Now, let me fix this. So yeah, that's pretty much it for elves. I wish I could have gone into more detail. Again, as I said, this is just going to be a quick summary for my friend. Giving a shout out to you, Jess. Also, there is one other topic I want to talk to, since I'm into the last 10 minutes of... I'm going to try and do my D&D class, race, and other review talks to 30 minutes. But the only reason why I'm doing Old Republic at an hour per video is because it's a video game and you really can't really get into a game within the 30 minutes. So, but anyway, there's one thing I want to give a huge shout out to is a fellow YouTuber. She does amazing Star Wars videos, especially Star Wars discussion videos. When I joined a hobby or a sport called Ludosport, I watched her videos reviewing the special combat lightsabers that she got from a website I was thinking of getting from. And then I met her at Ludosport, which I found amazing. I was like, oh my god, I can't believe it. I knew I recognized you from somewhere. But yeah, I'm probably going to edit this video and give a link to her in the description of the video. But I went to a party hosted by her and her husband out in the countryside, and it was amazing. It was great fun. It was for Star Wars Celebration. There was Star Wars music playing in the background. We watched what was considered some of the best scenes from each Star Wars movie. Thank God I caught a lot of Jar Jar. I love the prequels. Many are probably going to disagree with me. Phantom Menace is the best Star Wars movie, in my opinion. Except for Jar Jar. Sorry, I almost got caught the way my language. I hate Jar Jar. Oh God. Don't get me started. But yeah. Well, so at some point near the end of the party, now you can see me in the video, which I find a bit hilarious because I was the only person there not wearing a Star Wars related shirt. I didn't have my Star Wars shirt clean. I only had one Star Wars shirt and it wasn't cleaned, so I wore my Assassin's Creed shirt, and you can see it clearly in the video. But so what she came up and said, guys, I wanted to show you as a tribute to Carrie Fisher, who sadly died, over the holidays last year, like during Christmas. And she asked for volunteers of people who were doing another sport or people who were holding a lightsaber. And I jumped at the chance. We did a tribute. Someone was cosplaying as Leia at the party, and we just did an amazing tribute. And Vanessa, I want to thank you again for first hosting the party, and fair play to your husband for building that cinema screen. And thank you for including me and the others. Thank you for taking the time and effort to think of to do a tribute to Carrie Fisher, and then to make a video. Wow. I still can't get over that she's dead. You know, like again, sorry about my language, but they're God, like what the fuck? I still can't go over she's dead, like. Because I'm after just watching a Big Bang Theory where she guest starred in it, and like it's after just hit me again like that. Oh God, you know. But yeah, thank you for doing, like, for making the tribute. You know, and you're a brilliant photographer. You know how to make great videos, like take great pictures, and anyone who's watching this video, please jump on to her YouTube channel. Again, I'm going to put a description in the link below to her channel, and I'm going to put one for the actual video of the tribute. Please and like and share this amazing tribute to one of the great, what I would consider one of the greatest actresses of all time. Now, you may not be a Star Wars fan, but I would still encourage you to do it. But if you call yourself a Star Wars fan, if you honestly believe yourself to be a Star Wars fan, jump onto the channel, watch the video, hit like and share. And remember, Carrie Fisher, Princess Leia. And that's where I'm going to end this video. Remember to roll initiative, and may the Force be with you.